What are some trends that you are following and you believe that could, be something that people should be cognizant as they move into the future, Smita?
As somebody who's very interested in the marketing space, I do not follow trends.
Wonderful.
Okay?
Wonderful.
You
hear that.
I do not follow trends, and and I'll try and explain what that means.
Sure.
I tend to have an ear to the grassroots level of what are people doing, um, what are the variables which could impact changes in consumption decision. From that perspective, I try to map the trends. Okay? But in terms of my life choices, in terms of the consumption decisions I make, I don't think I follow any trend. So I think there's a difference there. If you want to look at as somebody who's interested in marketing, how should I try and map the trends? There are two perspectives to it. The first perspective is, who are you? Are you a newbie who's trying to create footprints in a particular market, which is the thriving startup ecosystem that we are looking at? The second scenario is where you are an incumbent. You've been in business for many, many years. So I think you figured it all out. I think both of them have very different um, issues that they
Right.
need to first solve for internally before they get out there to try and solve the external problem.
Correct.
If you're a startup, the biggest um, vision blocker that I feel startups encounter is, well, I do not have the money to get into investing into the market, right? So I don't have the money to run those big campaigns.
Correct.
I think what many startups lack are two things. And in fact, there's a beautiful article in HBR which talks about like a postmortem of why startups fail.
Mm.
And lack of funding is not among the top five reasons.
Wow.
All right. The top five reasons is one, you have not found a problem powerful enough it deserves to be solved,
Yes.
or somewhere while you were trying to solve the problem, you lost your plot,
Mm.
or the founders have lost the drive
Correct.
and the resilience that it takes to solve the problem.
Yes.
So it just goes back to the same thing.
Correct.
Once you can commit to these three fundamental realities,
Correct.
I think money or funding will flow.
True.
I'm not
True.
trying to make it look that funding is not at all, it's so simple to access. But once you get some of these bearings right, it's
Correct.
just a matter of time when you're going to be getting what it takes to access the market.
Correct.
Now, the second scenario, which is in the case of incumbents, you could say I've been in the business of personal care or detergents for the last 125 years. Nobody knows like the way I know about what it takes to help get great outcomes in the laundry because I've been selling detergents. I think what we need to really understand is the last in the 1980s, Priya, I think you will resonate with what I'm saying. Intergenerational shifts for once in 15 years.
Mm.
Huge changes in consumption pattern. Every 15 years, you would say, is almost like a new generation.
Correct.
Come to 2000s, I think the intergenerational shift is about every 10 years. I have reasons to believe that since 2015,
Mm-hmm.
the generational shift is maybe 5 years.
Mm.
Every 5 years, the generation which becomes a teen or becomes like an early adult portrays an absolutely different set of behavior than what used to happen much earlier.
Correct.
And I would like to believe that going forward, this sort of a shift will the elapsed time or the time gap will continue to reduce. Which
Correct.
means even if you're in business for the last century and you've been trying to service the same set of customer personas, you can't sit up there and say, well, I know how a consumer makes the decision.
Correct.
the humility to go back and understand the changing narratives at the customer's end.
Correct.
Try to understand how can you help solve the dilemma that a customer has in consumption given today's scenario, and how can I be relevant for her or him is the
Correct.
question that brands need to ask themselves.
Correct.
So even in the context of branding and marketing in the year 2023, 2024, none of the fundamentals change.
Correct.
But the humility to ask questions within before I try to solve a problem outside will remain unchallenged.